The great moon Veltria glowed in the darkness of space. It was a neutral place. No wars, no fighting, used only for peace talks between different alien species. Today was a very special day. Leaders from over 30 star systems had come to Veltia. They were here for one reason: to sign a peace treaty between Earth and the Zelari Empire. The Zelari were powerful and proud. Their empire stretched across hundreds of planets. They had tall bodies, silver blue skin, and glowing eyes. Humans were much newer to the galactic scene. Still, Earth had shown its strength in the last wars. The Zelari respected that, but respect was not the same as trust. Inside the Silver Hall of the Veltrian Grand Dome, many important people were gathering. Zelari guards in sharp armor stood near the princess. She was tall, wearing a shining robe of dark blue crystal. Her name was Princess Auralia, and everyone knew her as cold, proud, and extremely intelligent. On the human side stood military officers, ambassadors, and soldiers. Among them was a boy barely 19, his face still young, his armor too new. His name was Private Ethan Ward, the youngest soldier sent from Earth. He didn't talk much. He followed orders, stood straight, hands behind his back, watching everything carefully. His commander had told him, "You're not here to impress anyone, kid. Just don't mess up." Ethan didn't want to impress anyone. He just wanted to do his job. As the ceremony began, the Veltrian speaker welcomed all. The lights dimmed, and a golden orb was raised, symbol of unity. Suddenly, without warning, a loud blast shook the hall. The golden orb shattered. Smoke filled the air. People screamed. Explosions. Everyone panicked. Guards pulled out weapons. Diplomats fell to the floor. Some Zelari shouted orders in their language. Others tried to form protective shields around the royal family. Through the smoke, Ethan saw one of the giant light pillars falling, right toward the Zelari side. He didn't think. He just ran. "Move," he shouted, grabbing a tall figure and pulling her away. They hit the ground hard. The pillar crashed beside them, shaking the floor. Ethan coughed and looked up. The figure beneath him wasn't just any Zelari. It was the princess. Princess Aurelia blinked in surprise. Her silver eyes looked into his. She didn't speak, but she didn't push him away either. "Are you hurt?" Ethan asked. She shook her head. He stood and helped her up. Around them, guards began to regain control. The smoke cleared. Medics rushed in. Zelari officers ran to the princess. Aurelia raised one hand. "I am safe," she said calmly. Thanks to him, everyone turned. Human and Zelari eyes fell on Ethan. That human? That boy? Later, in the main hall, the leaders gathered again. Repairs were being made. The peace summit would continue, but the mood had changed. Suspicion filled the air. Who had set the explosion? Was it sabotage? A warning? Princess Aurelia stepped forward. The hall went quiet. She stood tall, her voice strong and sharp. "There was an attempt on my life. But I was saved. Not by a Zelari, but by a human soldier." Everyone looked at Ethan. "He is the youngest among you," Aurelia continued. "But he acted with speed, courage, and honor. That is why I now say," she turned and pointed straight at Ethan, "the youngest human, he's mine." A long silence followed. People stared. Murmurs broke out. Confused looks passed between ambassadors. What did she mean? General Ross of Earth whispered, "Did she just claim him?" An older Zelari noble asked, "Does she mean as a royal protector, a bond guardian, or something more?" Ethan stood frozen. He had no idea what was happening. Aurelia walked toward him. Her voice dropped lower, but everyone could hear her words. "You saved me, Ethan Ward. You acted while others froze. You risked your life. In my culture, that cannot be ignored. From this day forward, I claim you. Claim me." "For what?" he asked. Her lips curved in the smallest smile. "That, young human, depends on you." Ethan was taken to the Zelari Royal Cruiser. Not as a prisoner, but as a guest. Earth's diplomats were furious. His commander shouted at the Zelari guards, But the princess had made her decision. In Enzellery law, royal decisions were final. Ethan sat in a large chamber, walls glowing soft blue. Alien symbols moved like water across the surface. He wasn't scared, but he was definitely nervous. After a few minutes, the princess entered. She looked different now in a robe. Just a simple silver tunic. Her face was softer. "You're probably wondering why I said what I said," she began. He nodded. "Yeah, everyone is." Sat across from him. "There are people in my court who want me dead. That explosion wasn't random. Someone planned it, and you think someone in your own empire is behind it?" "Yes," she said. "But I cannot trust anyone around me. My own guards may be working for the traitor. So why me?" "Because you didn't know me. You weren't trying to earn favor. You saw danger. And you saved me. That is rare, even among my people." Ethan stayed quiet. She leaned closer. "In Enzellery law, when a royal is saved from death, she may choose her rescuer as a life-bonded protector. You are now bound to me by law. You can refuse, but if you do, I will lose all protection. And the next attack may succeed." Ethan's mind spun. "You want me to stay with you as your bodyguard? It's more than that," she said. "My eyes, my shield, and perhaps my only real ally?" He looked at her. She didn't seem cruel or proud anymore. She seemed tired, alone. "I'll do it," he said slowly. "But only if I can also help my people understand. I don't want war between us." "Agreed," she said, standing. "Then from this moment, you walk beside me, and we will both find the ones who tried to kill me." As she left the chamber, Ethan followed. He was just a young soldier from Earth, but now he was part of something much bigger, and the galaxy was watching. Private Ethan Ward had never felt so out of place. He stood inside the heart of the Enzellery royal cruiser, surrounded by walls that shimmered like frozen light. The halls whispered with strange voices, and every alien I turned to him, some with curiosity, others with anger, a few with disgust. He was a human, a child to them. And yet he had been claimed by their princess. Princess Aurelia walked beside him, tall and calm. She wore a long white robe now with sharp silver lines running across the fabric like lightning. Every step she took was graceful, but heavy with purpose. She did not speak to him as they passed through the grand corridor. But she didn't leave his side either. 2 alien guards followed silently. Their eyes glowed orange, and their weapons were sleek, floating along their arms. Ethan had never seen such advanced tech. He wanted to ask questions, but he kept his mouth shut. He remembered his commander's warning, "Don't embarrass Earth." But Earth had already been embarrassed. The humans were still angry. The diplomats had demanded Ethan's return. His general had shouted over the comlink, demanding answers. But Princess Aurelia had replied only once. "He is under royal protection. Until the truth behind the attack is found, he stays with me." And no one could argue with that, not under Enzellery law. Aurelia led Ethan into a quiet chamber. The walls showed stars slowly moving across space. Smooth table and 2 chairs sat in the center. She turned to him. "Sit. We speak now." Ethan sat down carefully. "Are you sure this is a good idea? Your people? They hate me already?" "They hate you because they fear change," she said calmly. "But they feared me long before you arrived. Why?" She looked out the window. "Because I want peace, not control. I want to change our empire, but many want the old ways to continue. You think someone in your own court tried to kill you?" "I know it," she said, turning back to him. "But I cannot prove it. Yet, that's why I chose you. Don't owe anyone here. You are not part of the games they play." Ethan frowned.
Ow.
"I'm just a soldier. I don't know how to deal with alien politics." She smiled slightly. "No, but you know how to see clearly. And you saved my life without question. That matters more than you think." Later that day, Ethan was given a room inside the royal cruiser. It wasn't a prison, but it wasn't exactly freedom either. Guards stood outside, and a small drone followed him everywhere, watching silently. The room had a soft bed, a glowing screen on the wall, and a table with food he didn't recognize. A voice in the ceiling spoke calmly. You are safe. You are under the protection of the crown. Do not attempt to leave without permission." He sighed and sat on the bed. "Great, I saved the princess, and now I'm trapped in a golden cage." But he didn't stay still for long. The next day, Aurelia called for him again. This time, she brought him into a war room. A long table showed moving maps of space, battle records, and information in both Zelari and translated English. Around the table stood 6 high-ranking Zelari nobles. All wore glowing robes and sharp expressions. One of them, a tall figure with red markings on his face, stared hard at Ethan. "This is a waste of time," he growled. "He is a human boy, symbol of weakness." Aurelia raised her hand. "He is under my protection? He is a risk," the noble snapped. "Your claim makes you look desperate." "Enough, Velen." Her voice turned cold. "Speak again in that tone, and I will strip your rank." Ethan noticed something, then Velen flinched. But it wasn't fear, it was rage. Hidden, but there. He's hiding something, Ethan thought. Aurelia pointed to the screen. This was the blast origin point during the summit attack. It was placed beneath the central light pillar, spot only available to those with inner clearance. "Meaning someone inside the Zelari court did it?" Ethan asked. "Yes." Ethan leaned closer. "Can I see the security feeds?" Velen laughed. "He wants to play detective now." But Aurelia nodded. "Give him access." Hours passed. Ethan watched the recordings again and again. His military training wasn't much, but he had a good eye. He paused one frame, zoomed in. Short Zelari technician, moving near the pillar. Too quickly, not logged in the schedule. "Who's this?" he asked. Aurelia checked. Unidentified. He looked again. The person wore a strange patch, something old. That insignia. "It's not standard, right?" "No, it hasn't been used since the war." Ethan looked at her. "Someone's using old loyalties to hide their plan." Aurelia nodded. "You may be right." That night, she met him again in the star chamber. The lights were soft. The stars moved slowly across the glass walls. "You've helped me more in 2 days than my own court in 2 years, she said softly. "I'm just trying not to die." Ethan replied with a half smile. She looked at him quietly. "You're not like the others. You don't ask for power. You don't try to impress." He looked away. "Where I come from, doing your job is enough." She studied him. "Your kind is new to the stars, but I think humans may be what this galaxy needs." He was silent for a while. Then he asked, "Why did you really say he's mine that day?" In front of everyone, she didn't answer right away. Finally, she said, "Because I needed someone to trust, and because I knew it would shock them all. We weren't afraid I'd say no?" She smiled. "No, you don't seem like the type to run." Back on the human ship, chaos continued. General Ross paced in front of the diplomats. "He's a kid," Ross shouted, "and now he's in the middle of a royal mess." The Earth's ambassador sighed, and yet the princess hasn't been attacked again since he arrived. Coincidence? Or maybe not, the ambassador replied. Maybe she chose well. But not everyone supported Aurelia and the shadows of the Zelari cruiser. Lord Velen spoke into a small hidden device. "He's smarter than expected," Velen growled. "Human sees too much," a voice replied through the device, cold and sharp. "Then make him disappear." Back in his room, Ethan lay awake. The lights were low. Stared at the ceiling, thinking. He had no idea how deep this mess was, but he knew one thing: Aurelia was right. Someone powerful wanted her dead, and now, maybe they wanted him dead, too. But he had made his choice. He would stay. He would protect her, even if it meant standing alone against an empire. The Zellar royal cruiser floated like a silent beast in the dark space above Veltria. Inside, the halls were quiet, but tension ran thick through the air. The peace summit had resumed, but behind every smile there was fear and secrets. Private Ethan Ward, the youngest human soldier in the room, was no longer just a guard. He was now the personal protector of Princess Aurelia the Royal, who shocked the galaxy by saying, "The youngest human, he's mine." Now, He walked beside her through golden corridors, always alert, his hand near his sidearm. He was a soldier, not a spy, but he was learning fast, and he had to. Because someone in this ship wanted the princess dead. And soon, they might come for him too. Inside the royal chamber, Ethan stood beside Aurelia as she met with her council. 6 high nobles surrounded the curved table, each more elegant and dangerous than the last. The one who stood out most was Lord Velen, tall, sharp-eyed, and wrapped in red armor that shimmered like blood in sunlight. He smiled often but never with warmth, and he never spoke without a hidden meaning. Princess Velen said, bowing, "The latest investigation shows nothing. No traitors, no explosives. It seems the attack at the summit was unfortunate but random." Aurelia's eyes narrowed. "You expect me to believe that?" "I expect you to listen to the facts, Your Highness," he replied smoothly. "The Empire cannot move forward while chasing shadows." Ethan watched from the side. He didn't trust Velen. There was something too perfect about his words. Too quick, too smooth, and worse, he was too calm. Aurelia stood. "Then I will begin my own investigation. With my protector." Velen smiled again. "The human?" "Of course. Let the boy chase ghosts." Ethan stepped forward. "Maybe I'll find one wearing red." Gasps filled the room. 2 nobles stood up. Aurelia raised her hand. "Enough," she said. "This council is over." Later, in her private chambers, Aurelia turned to Ethan. "You challenged Velen," she said. "He's hiding something," Ethan said, "and he doesn't even try to act innocent." "You're not wrong," she said quietly. "He has power. If we accuse him without proof, he'll destroy us both." Ethan sat down. "Then we find proof." Aurelia nodded. "I know where to start." That night, Ethan put on a dark cloak made of zellery fabric, shifted colors as he moved, hiding him in the shadows. Aurelia gave him a tiny device. "This will record everything. Just press the side." Ethan looked at her. "You're really trusting me with this?" "You're the only one I can trust," she replied. Ethan moved quietly through the lower decks of the ship. These areas were dark, full of strange machines and maintenance halls. He had memorized the path earlier. His target was a chamber used by Velen's private guards. He saw them first 3 large Zelari in black armor, speaking softly. One of them said, "The next shipment will arrive before the coronation. The device is ready." The second replied, "And the human?" "Lord Velen says we remove him before the 3rd sun rises." Ethan froze. "They're planning to kill me," he thought. He pressed the recorder suddenly. One of the guards turned. "Did you hear that?" "Ah?" Ethan ducked into the shadows, holding his breath. The guards searched. One came close, his glowing eyes passing inches from Ethan's face. But the cloak worked. The guard moved on. After 5 minutes, Ethan slipped away, heart pounding. He had what they needed, dash-proof. In the morning, Aurelia called a secret meeting with her 3 most loyal aides. They met in the Star Vault, a hidden room only accessible. Through her personal code, Ethan played the recording. The voices were clear. "The device is ready. Remove the human." One of the aides, a female Zelari named Sorel, spoke first. "This is enough to challenge Velen's position, but not to arrest him. He will claim it's a setup." Aurelia frowned. "We need the device. If we find it and connect it to him, we can expose everything." Ethan asked, "Where would he hide something like that?" Sorel thought for a moment. "There's one place he controls fully, the dual chamber." Aurelia turned sharply. "That chamber is off limits. It belongs to the High Lords. Not even I can enter without permission. But if we can draw him into a duel," Ethan said, "I could enter." Aurelia shook her head. "That's dangerous. You'd be facing him in combat." Ethan shrugged. "I didn't come here to sit around." She looked at him. "Are you sure? I saved your life once. I'll do it again." Later that day, in front of the royal court, Ethan stood tall in the arena. The dual chamber was ancient, lit by fire and surrounded by glowing symbols. Hundreds of Zelari nobles watched from above. Velen stepped forward, his armor gleaming. "I do not understand this human," he said loudly. "But if he wishes to challenge me, I accept. For honor and truth." Ethan took a breath. He didn't have alien strength, but he had speed, training, and willpower. The duel began. Velen attacked fast, his weapon a long spear of energy. Ethan dodged, rolled, and used his small blade to block. He didn't need to win, just needed to last long. Enough. He ducked under a strike and ran toward the edge of the chamber where he had seen the hidden wall earlier. He pressed a small button in his glove, given to him by Aurelia. A panel opened. Inside was a glowing cube, the device. But Velen saw it. "You dare," he roared. Charging, Ethan grabbed the cube and turned. Velen's weapon struck his side but only grazed him. Ethan slammed the device into the center pedestal. Lights flashed. Voice echoed across the chamber. Command detonation device. Weapon of mass destruction. Signature, Lord Velen. Velen gasps, screams. The nobles stood up. Guards rushed in. Aurelia appeared beside Ethan, lifting the device for all to see. "This," she said loudly, "was hidden by Velen. He planned to destroy this piece. He tried to kill me. And he tried to silence the one human who stood by me." Velen shouted lies, but no one listened. The recording played again. His voice. His orders guards seized him. Ethan sat down, breathing hard. His side burned. But he smiled. Aurelia knelt beside him. "You did it," she said. "We did it." He replied. That night, the stars above Veltria were calm. Peace talks resumed. The traitor was gone. And in the middle of it all stood a young human soldier and a princess who chose him when no one else believed in him. He wasn't just her protector. Now he was her ally, and the galaxy had started to take notice. The message from the ruined tower on Krellin 4 had spread across the stars like a spark in dry grass. From distant mining moons to great empire cities, people heard Princess Aurelia's voice. Her words were clear: truth, peace, and rebellion. Against the traitors who had tried to silence her, many had thought she was dead now. They knew she was alive, and she was not alone. With her stood a human, a boy, a soldier from Earth, Private Ethan Ward. In the orbit of Veltria, fleets began to gather. On one side, the loyal forces of the Zelleri Empire, who believed in Aurelia's leadership. Ships from Earth and even vessels from smaller worlds responded. To her call for peace, on the other side, Velen's rebels. A massive fleet, led by admirals who wanted war, power, and control. They had already taken 3 core systems. They had declared Aurelia a traitor to the Empire. It was now a war of belief, future versus US past, and the final battle was coming fast. Aurelia stood in the command center of the Alliance flagship. Wore new armor silver with a royal crest on the chest, designed not for decoration, but for battle. Her eyes were focused, sharp. Beside her stood Ethan, no longer in basic Earth's military gear. Now he wore a sleek black command suit, with a human Zelari patch on his shoulder. To everyone on the ship, he was no longer the youngest recruit. He was something more. He had earned a title. General Ethan Ward. Ethan studied the hologram of the battle zone. The rebel fleet had formed a circle around Veltria, blocking all communication and travel. A giant battleship, the Iron Storm, led the blockade. Juno, the tech officer, explained the plan. They expect us to hit the center. But if we split our forces using stealth ships on the edge, we can break their grip, Sorel added. We must take down the Iron Storm if we don't. They'll destroy the peace delegates arriving tonight. Aurelia looked to Ethan. The plan is yours now. Ethan nodded slowly. Then we move at dawn. The next morning, the space around Veltria burned. Fighter ships swirled through the stars like angry hornets. Lasers cut through the darkness. Explosions lit up the sky. Ethan's command ship flew fast, weaving between rebel cruisers. Target the engines, he shouted. Don't destroy unless necessary. We want prisoners, not martyrs. Aurelia led the second team, directing ships to protect the Peace Summit station, inside the human Solari command center. Soldiers watched as the youngest general moved like a veteran. Calm, focused, sharp. He had learned not from books, but from Fire! The Iron Storm loomed ahead 3 times the size of their cruiser. Its black metal surface was covered in weapon pods and shield towers. Juno shouted from the controls. Their shields are too strong. We can't break them from out here. Ethan nodded. Then we go in. Sorrel blinked. Board it. That's suicide? We just need to overload the core. That'll drop the shields. Aurelia's voice came through the comm. I'm with you. Uthan, Aurelia, and 6 others launched in a stealth drop pod, flying like a bullet toward the Iron Storm. It crashed through a side hatch. They jumped out, guns raised. Enemy soldiers swarmed in. The battle inside was brutal. Hand-to-hand combat in narrow halls, lasers flying, alarms blaring. Aurelia fought with twin blades, her movements fast and elegant. Ethan covered her, shooting enemies and giving commands. They reached the main reactor. It was guarded by 6 elite rebels, armored, silent, deadly. Ethan charged first. Dodging a spear strike and punching a guard into the wall, Aurelia followed, slicing through to others. Sorrel and Juno planted the overload devices. 5 seconds, Juno yelled. Fall back, Ethan shouted. The team ran. Behind them, the reactor exploded not with fire, but with a massive EMP blast. Across the battlefield, the Iron Storm's shields vanished. All ships, move in, Aurelia ordered. The Allied fleet surged forward, pushing the rebels back. Earth's warships joined the charge. Zellery cruisers flew in formation, protecting the peace station. The rebels began to retreat. One by one, their ships were disabled, their lines broke, their leaders were captured, and the war was over. On the surface of Veltria, beneath the sky now full of floating wreckage, the peace summit resumed. This time no one dared interrupt. In the great silver hall, Aurelia stood on the central platform. She wore her crown now not as a symbol of power, but as a promise of peace. Ethan stood beside her, dressed in black command uniform, medals on his chest. But he looked the same, inside, humble, quiet. Focused, the Veltrian speaker raised a hand. Do you have final words before this treaty is signed? Aurelia nodded. She looked around the room, ambassadors from many planets, nobles, generals, soldiers, and even reporters. I was nearly killed, she said. Not by outsiders, but by fear, hatred, and lies within my own house. She paused, but I survived because of a human. A boy who did not care about rank or titles. He saved me, stood by me, challenged my enemies when my own people were too afraid. She turned to Ethan. They laughed when I said, the youngest human, he's mine. But now, they cheer. The room burst into applause. Ethan said nothing. But in his heart, he felt something he had never known before. Pride. Later that evening, Ethan stood on a quiet balcony looking at the stars. The air was still, peaceful. Aurelia joined him, her crown removed, her face softer now. You should return to Earth, she said gently. They'll make you a hero. He shook his head. Earth will be fine. They have heroes already. You don't want to go back? He looked at her. Not yet. My place is here. With you, she smiled. Then stay. Not as my guard. Not even as my general. He raised an eyebrow. Then as what? She reached for his hand. As my equal. Ethan smiled. We sure this galaxy is ready for that? She nodded. It better be. And so, the war ended. The peace was signed. A new alliance began. And at the center of it all stood a young human and an alien princess, 2 souls from different worlds, bound by trust, courage, and hope. In the records of the galaxy, people would remember the day Aurelia pointed at a soldier and said, the youngest human, he's mine. But what mattered more was what came after. When that youngest human stood beside her and helped change the future, the news of Lord Velan's arrest spread like fire across the galaxy. The recording of his voice, the hidden weapon, and the duel in the ancient chamber had shocked the royal court. Some nobles stood with Princess Aurelia. Others stayed silent, watching and waiting. But Aurelia knew the truth. This was not the end. Velen had many supporters, powerful ones. And now that he was locked away, they would act from the shadows, and they did not forgive betrayal. In the royal cruiser's command chamber, Princess Aurelia stood beside Ethan Ward, the young human who had saved her twice now. The room was quiet, except for the slow blinking of lights across the star map. "We don't have much time," she said. Ethan looked at her. "You think they'll attack?" "They have already started," she replied, pointing to the hologram. "Our outposts on Yethra and Drozen were attacked last night. No warning, no official orders. But it's them, Velen's loyalists." "Civil war," Ethan said quietly. She nodded. "And they will come for me next. I am the last thing standing in their way." Ethan crossed his arms. "What's our plan?" She turned to him. "We run." That night, Aurelia called her closest allies Commander Sorel, Tech Officer Juno, and 2 loyal guards. They met in the shadow hangar, a hidden part of the ship known only to royals. A small stealth shuttle waited there. Black, fast, and untraceable. "We're going to the neutral zone," Aurelia explained. "There, I will speak to the galaxy. I'll show them the truth, and I'll call for unity. But I must live to reach it." Ethan nodded. "Then I'm coming with you." Aurelia looked at him. "You've already done more than I asked." Could be suicide. He gave a small smile. "Yeah, but now it's personal." The escape began at midnight. The hangar lights dimmed. The shuttle engines hummed low. Just as they were about to launch, alarms blared. Emergency alert. Movement detected. Intruders on Deck 7. "They found us," Aurelia said, grabbing her cloak. Ethan pulled out his sidearm. "Then we fight." In the narrow corridor, 3 masked attackers rushed forward with plasma blades. Ethan moved fast, blocking the first strike, and kicking one back into a wall. Aurelia's guards opened fire, stunning the other 2. "Move," Ethan shouted. They reached the shuttle and sealed the door. The ship lifted off, flying out of the hangar into open space. But behind them, fighters launched. Dozens of them. "We've got company," Juno shouted from the controls. "Activate cloaking," Aurelia ordered. The ship vanished from radar, but the enemy kept firing. "Brace for impact." A blast hit the side. Sparks flew. Ethan held the princess as the ship spun. "We're not going to make it at this speed," Juno yelled. "Then jump," Aurelia commanded. The stars twisted in one blink. They were gone. They landed hours later on a quiet, forest-covered moon called Krellin, for outside all Empire borders. The ship was damaged. Communications were weak, but they were alive. Ethan and the others built a small shelter using survival kits. The air was breathable, but the nights were cold. The forest made strange sounds like whispers in the wind. Still, it was peaceful. For now, one evening, Ethan sat beside a fire, staring at the glowing sky. Aurelia sat next to him, her long cloak around her shoulders. "Do you regret it?" asked, "saying I was yours?" She didn't answer for a moment. Then she said no. "I regret not doing it sooner." Ethan looked at her. "You lost your court, your power. You're running for your life." She turned to him. "And yet, I've never felt more free," he smiled. "I was just a soldier," he said. "Back home, nobody even noticed me. But now, you're more than a soldier now," Aurelia said softly. "You're part of something greater, something that could change everything." Ethan didn't speak. But inside, he felt something rise a fire he didn't know. He would protect her, no matter what came next. The peace didn't last. 3 nights later, the ground shook. Explosions in the distance. Ship arrived, black and full of weapons. "They found us," Juno shouted. "How?" Ethan asked. Aurelia answered, her voice calm. "They tracked the energy signature from our last jump. They knew I'd come here." Ethan stood, ready. "Then we fight again." "No," she said, "this time we run." "Toward them?" "What?" "They think we're weak, but we still have something powerful. The truth. If I can speak to the Galactic Council from the old broadcast station here, we can reach every world." Juno looked at her. "That place is a war ruin, half destroyed. But it still works, she said. We reach it and send the message. The galaxy will see what Velen tried to do, and many will choose my side. Ethan stepped forward. Then let's move. They moved fast through the forest, dodging patrols. Ethan led the group, using heat vision goggles to scout ahead. Aurelia stayed close behind. The ruins came into view, an old tower made of black stone and steel, rising into the sky like a broken finger. Inside, everything was dead. Dust. Silence. But the control panel still worked. Juno connected the core. It'll take 5 minutes. Ethan heard footsteps outside. You've got to. The attack came fast. Enemy soldiers stormed the lower level. Aurelia and her guards held the stairs while Ethan and Juno worked on the panel. It's almost ready, Juno shouted. Ethan fired at the doorway. Hurry. A blast hit near Aurelia's arm. She fell, rolling behind a broken console. Princess? Ethan shouted. I'm fine, said, getting up. The screen blinked. Connection stable. Begin transmission. Aurelia stood in front of the camera, bruised but proud. I am Princess Aurelia of the Zelari Empire. I speak today not as a ruler, but as a daughter of peace. There are those in our empire who fear change, who choose war over unity. They tried to silence me, but I am still here. Outside, explosions rocked the tower. Enemy forces closed in. Ethan blocked the staircase. Firing his last shots, Aurelia continued, voice steady. I ask all who still believe in justice, stand with me, for peace, for truth, for the future. The screen blinked. Transmission complete. Signal sent. Juno smiled. We did it. Ethan pulled Aurelia close. Now we get out. The battle wasn't over, but their message had gone across the stars. From the ruined tower, Ethan and Aurelia escaped into the forest again, carrying hope on their backs. They had no army, no capital, but they had something stronger. They had the truth. And now, the galaxy was listening.